Okay, my name's Simon Stone. I'm from IBM Blockchain's UK team, and we focus on the developer experience. Focus on building tools and APIs and SDKs that developers can use to build blockchain solutions that run on our platform. And I have two questions to start with. One, who in the room is a developer? Oh, that is a good number of hands. Second question, who saw my boss's presentation earlier, Jerry Cuomo? Did anyone go to that session? Who's not an IBMer? Put your hand down, Andy. Okay, that's good, because it turns out Jerry stole my idea of how to start a presentation. But fortunately, he went with Marvel, and I went with DC. Does everyone know who this guy is? Okay, good. So the question is, what do blockchain developers have in common with Batman? If I take myself as an example, I certainly don't have the physique of Batman, and I certainly don't spend my nights going out and fighting crime as much as I would like to. But the one thing that I do have in common with Batman is that to do my job, I have a utility belt of tools that I use during my development job. I have APIs and SDKs that I can use to build applications, and I have an IDE that I can use to improve my developer experience. Batman has his batarangs and his batline. Unfortunately, the IBM Blockchain Platform will not turn you into a crime-fighting superhero, but it does provide you tools that you can use to build your blockchain solutions. The first of which is a great programming model. As Arsha said, the IBM Blockchain Platform is built on top of Hyperledger Fabric, which is a Linux Foundation project. It's an open source project contributed to by many companies, not just IBM. And in Hyperledger Fabric, there are APIs and SDKs that you can use to write smart contracts and applications. You can build these things in a variety of programming languages. You can use the programming language that you are most familiar with, whether that's Go, Java, JavaScript, or TypeScript. We support them all. Fabric also includes a set of tutorials and samples that you can use to get started. If you don't want to use the IBM stuff, just go to the Fabric documentation and you can get started from there. However, I will try and convince you that the IBM Blockchain Platform is the way to go. We've got a really simple experience for writing smart contracts. Here's an example here. This is a very basic Hello World contract. You can see that there's a class at the top, Hello World contract. It extends one of our built-in classes, contract. And there's two functions in my class, and these are the transaction functions. So this smart contract exposes a transaction called getHello, which reads some data from the state database, and setHello, which writes some data to the state database. Nice and simple, right? That's all you need to start writing smart contracts in Hyperledger Fabric. And it's equally as simple to write applications that interact with those smart contracts. You can see here, not many lines of code. You create a gateway object. You create a wallet. A wallet contains your digital identities that you use to sign transactions. You connect to that gateway. You get a network channel. You get a reference to the smart contract that's been deployed. And you submit a transaction in a single line. Here, we're submitting a transaction. We're submitting the setHello transaction. And we're going to say hello to Stuart. Does anyone get that reference? No? OK, that's good. I won't get in trouble. So it's really simple to write smart contracts and applications using Hyperledger Fabric. But it's not just the programming model that is the tool that we give you as part of the IBM Blockchain Platform. We also give you an IDE experience, a true developer tool that lets you write smart contracts and move them through the entire software development lifecycle, creating them, deploying them, testing them, debugging them, and packaging them up so you can move them into production at a later date. And when we started work on this, we had to make a choice. We had to choose an IDE to go after to integrate with. And as Arsha pointed out, we went with Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. And we picked this for a couple of reasons, but mostly because it is the most popular IDE at the moment. So Stack Overflow's developer survey, where they asked developers such as yourselves, you know, what IDEs do you use, what tools do you use, what programming languages do you use? Visual Studio Code has come out on top for the last couple of years. It's incredibly popular. Now, those of you that have not come across Visual Studio Code may have come across Visual Studio in the past. Visual Studio Code is completely different. It's a free editor, it's open source, and it has thousands of extensions I couldn't quite find out how to get the number of extensions from the marketplace, but there are definitely thousands of them. And it supports a very extensive range of programming languages. And it includes support for the programming languages that we support in Hyperledger Fabric as well, JavaScript, TypeScript, Go, and Java. It also runs everywhere. So if you're a developer using Windows, Mac, or Linux, you can easily get started using the IBM Blockchain Platform. And we have built our own extension for Visual Studio Code. And like Visual Studio Code, our extension is free and it's open source. You can find it on GitHub. You can contribute if you like. We're more than happy to accept contributions. And last week, the team did a great job. They got version 1 of the extension finalized and published to the Visual Studio Code marketplace. You can download and install it today, and we'll help you get started in the labs afterwards if you want to stick around. And as Arsha mentioned, we do have some swag to give away. Like Visual Studio Code, it runs everywhere. We support all of the Visual Studio Code platforms, so if you want to get going on Windows, Mac, or Linux, you can. The extension is really easy to get started with. It has integrated tutorials and samples, and I'll show you those shortly. It's got a full set of capabilities for developing smart contracts, and I'll cover all of those. And it doesn't tie you into the IBM Blockchain Platform. It has great integration with the IBM Blockchain Platform, but because this is all built on top of that standard open source Hyperledger Fabric, anything you build with this tool will work with Hyperledger Fabric, and it will work with any Hyperledger Fabric network as well. So firstly, getting started. As I said, there are integrated tutorials built into the IDE, so when you install it from the marketplace, you will be presented with the homepage that gives you access to several tutorials. And these tutorials walk you through how to develop a smart contract, how to provision an instance of the IBM Blockchain Platform cloud service, and how to move your smart contract from local development to getting it up and running on the cloud. And they take about 2 hours to go through end to end. We also have a samples gallery that demonstrates some industry use cases and development best practices. So when you start writing your applications and smart contracts, you should really be checking out those samples to see how you should do that. The tool lets you create a new smart contract project from scratch. You simply run a command inside the IDE. It says, what's the name of your project? Where would you like to store it? And it will create you a sample smart contract project that manages the lifecycle of an asset on the blockchain network. So I'll have transactions for creating an asset, reading that asset, updating it, etc. Again, you can create this project in any programming language that you choose, Go, Java, JavaScript, or TypeScript. And that smart contract project is full of our best practices. So it includes linting out of the box, it includes unit tests, it includes everything you need to get up and running with smart contract development. We also make it really easy to get a local Fabric network up and running locally. So when you install the extension, it will automatically set up a local Fabric network for you. All you have to do is have Docker installed. There's no need to go and download some scripts, run various Docker commands, any of that. You just simply click a button in the IDE, and it will start that local Fabric network for you. Using that local Fabric network, you can deploy your smart contracts to it. You can test it by submitting transactions to it. You can debug your smart contracts, all using that local Fabric network out of the box. We've got integrated testing tools. We have the ability to explore that local Fabric node, so we can see on that Fabric node what channels are there, what smart contracts are deployed, and what transactions are available in those smart contracts. And from there, you can see on the left, there's a tree where you can see some transactions around a bill of lading contract. From the tree, you can right-click them, and you can choose to submit or evaluate those transactions. So you can test that those transactions do the right thing. But you can also right-click the deployed smart contract and generate a set of functional tests that can be automated into your CI pipelines. Now, we do a lot of generation for you. You have to write the assertions yourself, but the whole skeleton of those functional tests is provided for you at a click of a button. So it's really simple to get it up and running with testing as well. Testing is great, and it often finds problems, and then when you have problems, you want to do what all developers do, which is put console.log statements in your smart contracts. But we also offer integrated debugging capabilities as well. So I mentioned Visual Studio Code has a wide range of support for various programming languages, and it has some great debugger support for those languages as well.
Can you fuzz test as well? Can you fuzz?
No, there's no fuzz testing at the moment. So we've built on top of that debugging capability built into Visual Studio Code. So it makes it really easy to debug your smart contracts running locally on your local Fabric peer. You simply set your breakpoints, you submit transactions in, the debugger will stop. You can follow the code line by line as it executes. It's really easy to take what you build in the IDE and move it to the cloud. And this is because the IDE builds standard Hyperledger Fabric artifacts. And you can use those with the standard Fabric CLIs or SDKs to deploy those smart contracts to a Fabric network of your choice. Or you can use them with the IBM Blockchain Platform operational tooling. The extension will produce these .cds files, which is a standard Fabric packaging format. And using the operational tools, there's a screenshot of it there, and I think Arsha is going to cover it next. You can simply upload that package, install it on your peers, and instantiate it on a channel to get it up and running. So nice and simple to move from local development through to cloud running in production. And it's great getting stuff deployed, but sometimes you want to connect to cloud as well from your IDE. And we've made that really simple as well. So from within your IDE, you can use it just with the local Fabric network that we set up, but you can also connect it to any Fabric network that you may have, whether that's running with the IBM Blockchain Platform or just simply one you've stood up yourself. And you do that by adding a gateway connection, and that requires two things. It requires a connection profile document that describes where that Fabric network is, and a digital identity, a certificate and a private key pair that allows you to interact with that Fabric network. So you can see here, on the left-hand side, I've got four gateway connections. One is to my local Fabric network, and then I've got one to a peer running on AWS, one running on Azure, and one running on the IBM Cloud. So you can use this tool to interact with Fabric networks running anywhere. So just to finish up, easy to get started today. Please stick around for the labs. If you're a developer and you want to get up and running, I'll be around to help you. Nick, my colleague, will also be there, and Arsha will help as well. There's very few prereqs you need to getting the extension up and running. You just need Node.js, 8 or 10 will do. You need Docker if you want to get that local Fabric network up and running. You, of course, need Visual Studio Code, which is easy to download, and you need our extension from the marketplace. If you want to chat to us, you can raise questions on Stack Overflow. We have a tag. And you can also contribute through GitHub if you want to raise feature requests, bug reports, that kind of thing. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
I've tried this out, and it seems there's a lot of versioning errors and bugs. And it seems to work fine on my laptop, but not on the desktop. Also, I'm seeing a lot of gRPC errors. I'm not sure what that means.
OK.
And I'll use it to create a fab card, the CDS package. But then when we connect it to the network, the Node.js files don't seem to interact with this ID.
OK.
This extension.
Well, I'm happy to sit down afterwards and try and figure that out with you.
Anyone else? Questions?
Hey, when you're connecting your cross-network from peer-to-peer, do you get to connect to different peers? Is it dynamically shift?
So the development tool lets you connect to any Fabric peer running anywhere.
So it's not specific to a specific peer in that network?
No, correct. It could be any network that you want to talk to. So for example, you might connect the development tools to your development network running on the IBM Cloud. You might connect it to your production network running on AWS. You can connect to all kinds of different networks running wherever you like.
So it's not a dedicated node, is my point.
You have a local node that we stand up for you. It's not connected to anyone else's node because it's for development purposes only.
Right. But let's say I set up Fabric on some other cloud and I want to.
You can connect to that from the development tools, yes.
And so, but in the config, you're basically configuring to speak to a specific node on that other network.
Correct, yeah. Or a set of nodes if you have high availability.
Is it dynamic, or is that the choke point?
Is that dynamic? What do you mean by dynamic? You want to randomly
spread? It could be any of the nodes within that network.
Any of your nodes. So in a permission network, you have a set of nodes. Other people have
and
nodes.
Then let's say I've got the IBM permissioned network. Then I've got my other Hyperledger network running over here. Now I'm connecting the two of them together. My question is whether or not I'm connecting it to a specific node in this other network. Like, is it a static node, like basically a static IP, or is it dynamic?
No, it's a set of nodes, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
You talk a little bit about the automated process to deploy and instantiate contracts onto a peer, and then how to do it to a channel as well through the tool, just from a high level.
So the tool allows you to interactively deploy your smart contracts. It has commands that let you install a smart contract package onto a peer and instantiate a smart contract on a channel. In terms of automation, you need to write a CI/CD pipeline script that will do that for you. You can use the Fabric APIs and CLIs to automate that process for you. And that is something that we'll be looking to sort of document and provide you with sample configurations at some point.
Anyone else?
Any more?
Are you going to cover DevOps stuff?
Yes, Asha is going to cover the operational tooling next. Okay, thank you.